Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, today I'm talking about SARS, severe acute SARS, acute respiratory syndrome, and COVID-19. So, before talking SARS and COVID-19 in our India or in our country, in our state, there are some emerging and re-emerging diseases. So emerging means already having one diseases and again re-emerging the disease. Like SARS and COVID two already had, but now again COVID-19 had occurred. It is the re-emerging diseases. So what are the factors responsible for re-emergence and re-emergence of the infectious disease? Why it is again reoccurring in the community? Why again it reoccurring in the India or in the world? So, due to unplanned and underplanned urbanization, due to overcrowding and rapid population growth, poor sanitization, inadequate public health infrastructure, resistance to antibiotics. Like some people will go to the RMP doctors, and within short period of, if any case of fever is there, within one day they will start the antibiotics, whether it is a fungal infection, whether it is a viral infection, they will start the antibiotics. So for that they will get resistance to the antibiotics. And due to increased exposure of humans to disease vector and reservoirs of infection, rapid and intense international travel, and microbial genetic mutations. Next, coming to the epidemiology. So SARS epidemiology is what are the for any disease there will be three factors: agent factor, host factor, and environmental factors. What are the agent factors which causes the SARS? What is the agent factor? Is it is a enveloped positive sense single stranded RNA virus. Bats are the major reservoir of the infection. This is the agent. And host, who will carry the infection: elderly population, people with comorbidities, immunocompromised individuals. And environmental factors, what factors will associated, like will favor to host factors, is overcrowding and rapid population growth, increased exposure of humans to disease vectors. Next, coming to chain of transmission. For every disease there will be sources of infection and modes of transmission, and for every infection, for every disease, there will be one chain. So first, if we take as as a source or a reservoir from bats, modes of transmission is droplet infection, close contact with cases, aerosol generating procedures. And susceptible host, who is susceptible host? Elderly population with comorbidities like AIDS, diabetes, hypertension, like that, and immunocompromised individuals. So source or a reservoir is bats. Modes of transmission is droplet infection, close contact with cases, and aerosol generating procedures. Elderly population, people with comorbidities, and immunocompromised individuals. Next, coming to the like there are so many cases. Mainly if we take India, there are three cases of SARS, deaths, no deaths. So when there were three cases was in 25th April 2003. So what is the clinical presentation of the SARS? How the patient will present? So they will come to you with fever, dry cough, sore throat, difficulty in breathing. So fever was the most common presenting symptom among all the patients. Dyspnea and diarrhea usually will be there in the second week of the illness. So severe cases presents with rapid deterioration with low oxygen saturation. So oxygen levels will decrease, and acute respiratory distress also will be there. So due to that reason, maybe the patient needs ventilator support also. And in chest x-ray there will be small and unilateral patchy shadowing and progress patches will be there. So interstitial infiltrates also bilateral will be there. So you have to see that whether it is a TB, whether it is a COVID, or whether it is a SARS. Next, case definition. What is a case? If you are saying it is a case of COVID, if you are saying it is a case of SARS, first you need to know a case definition. So a history of fever should be there. Next, one or more symptoms of lower respiratory tract illness, that is cough and dyspnea. And radiological evidence, so not only symptoms, you have so like these symptoms you can see in the TB also. So similar symptoms also present in the COVID and SARS also. So you have to diagnose and you have to see the radiological evidence. So radiological evidence of lung infiltrates with the consist with the pneumonia or acute respiratory distress syndrome, and autopsy findings consistent with the pathology of pneumonia or ARDS. So next, coming to the diagnosis, how you will diagnose that? So there will be RT-PCR. RT-PCR, at least two different clinical specimens you have to take, that is from nasopharyngeal and another one is from serum. So same clinical specimens are collected on two or more occasions during the course of the illness. So that is sequential nasopharyngeal aspirates you have to take. So next, virus culture from any clinical specimen. So any specimen, like you can collect that virus to culture. And ELISA or IFA, immunofluorescent assay. So diagnosis by RT-PCR, and RT-PCR at least you have to take two samples, that is nasopharyngeal and serum. Next, same clinical specimen collected on two or more occasions during the course of the illness. And for culture, ELISA and IFA. Treatment, how you will treat? So it is mainly supported, so always for COVID-19 also we won't have any treatment, for SARS also we won't have any treatment. So first we have to give supportive treatment. If the patients will come with a fever, you have to give antipyretics, and along with that you have to give antiviral supplement. If saturation levels will be low, means you have to give supplemental oxygen. If supplemental oxygen is also not sufficient, you have to treat the patient with a ventilator, mechanical ventilation. So suspected cases, so what case suspected cases will be isolated, because if you suspect that case is either any viral condition, if you leave them, so they will spread the diseases. So that's why suspected cases must be isolated. Initially steroids and ribavirin was used for this thing, but now they are not using. A number of other drugs such as ritonavir, idinavir, interferon type 1, and immunoglobulins also they are giving, and systemic steroids were used to treat SARS patient during 2003 epidemic. Next, what are the complications of SARS? So ARDS occurs in about 16% of the patients all overly. So here what happened, the lung full, like pulmonary fibrosis occurs. So here infiltrates full of infiltrates will cover full the lung. So it causes the cavities. So that is called the pulmonary fibrosis. So ARDS occurs in about 16% of the patients. So ARDS is one of the complication. Pulmonary fibrosis and tension pneumothorax, like who are in the ventilators. So which patient is on the mechanical ventilator, we will give the pressure right from the outside, oxygen pressure. Due to that high peak pressure, some people will go to tension pneumothorax, that is the complication of the mechanical ventilation. So and non cardiogenic pulmonary edema, some patients land up in a pulmonary edema. So ARDS, pulmonary fibrosis, tension pneumothorax due to mechanical ventilation, and non cardiogenic pulmonary edema. Next, prognosis. So prognosis for SARS patients, the mortality rate will be 10% to 14%. Understood? And factors associated with a poor 10 to 14% means it is a like moderately poor prognosis. So factors associated with a poor prognosis is advanced age, immunocompromised state, uncontrolled diabetes, and acute kidney diseases. So in these conditions, their immunity levels will be low. If immunity levels will be low, means the body can't fight with the virus, right? They can't produce the antibodies. So that's why they can't fight with the diseases, they can't fight with the virus. So these are the factors associated with the poor prognosis: advanced age, immunocompromised states, uncontrolled diabetes, and acute kidney diseases. Next, coming to the prevention, like this there is a no specific treatment, but we can prevent them. So if any specific treatment is there, we can treat them. We can give prophylactic things, but we can't give here prophylactic thing and we can't give the specific treatment. So prevention is better than cure, right? Prevent first we have to prevent the disease. So there will be three levels of prevention: primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention. So in primary prevention, what it will be the at what level of intervention will be there means specific protection and health promotion, right? So we have to promote the health condition, and specific protection you have to take, so that comes under the primary prevention. So like that, specific protection means you have to wash your hands with soap, with alcohol based sanitizer, and cough etiquette. Like cough etiquette, it's also a protection method. Protection of healthcare workers treating the those who are treating the patients with the help of PPE, including mask and gown. Those who are treating these patients, so they should use PPE kit, including mask and gown. It is the specific protection. And surfaces of fomites, to remove viruses, they will disinfect, and social distancing. These all promoting and specific protection, we can prevent the disease. This is the level at the level of the primary prevention. Next, coming to the secondary prevention. Secondary prevention means will come under the level of intervention of early diagnosis and the treatment. So you have to diagnose early and you have to treat them. So when you diagnose the patient, if they are sitting at the home, if they are not seeking the medicine help, what you'll do, you can't do anything. So what you should do, you should screen the contacts. So if one case is coming to you with a COVID or a SARS, you have to screen them, and you have to screen their contacts also. In house, how many members, you have to ask the history. In at home, who are suffering other than you, who are suffering from cough, who are suffering from cold, who are suffering from fever, you have to ask them, you have to screen them. And improve diagnostic method for screening. So exit screening of international travelers. So those who are traveling, those who are after traveling, they will exit now. So from there only you have to screen. So their screening starts. Those who are coming from outside the. So now example, COVID came from China, right? Those who are traveling history, those who are having the traveling history. If screening is there then and there in the in the airports and things, so we can prevent the COVID situation. So exit screening of the international travel. Next, tertiary prevention. Tertiary prevention means rehabilitations. Like here already disease has occurred, so what you will do, immediate initiation of the treatment to prevent the complications. And coming to the vaccine, currently there is no vaccine for SARS COVID. And one vaccine is there, that is Sanofi claimed to have worked out a program to produce a vaccine against SARS, but this was dropped without any further statement from the company. So they did not did anything, but they thought to do one of this Sanofi. Next, the public health emergency of international concern. So, public health emergency of international concern. What is public health emergency? It is also one of the, if any epidemic comes, if any outbreak will comes, it called as a public health emergency. So, what is an extraordinary event which requires constitutes a public health risk to other member states through international spread of diseases and requires a coordinated international response also, not only through here like statewide or district wide. It is it requires a coordinated international response. Everyone, due to that PHCIC, everyone will get alert in whole country or a whole world. Next, how you'll assess the disease. So, how you'll say it is the public health emergency, either it will cause any impact or not, how you'll say. So, what is the criteria for assessment? Is the public health impact of the event serious or not? You have to see. Is the event is unusual or unexpected? You have to see. So we all did not expected any time like this lockdown and everything, right? So it is an unusual and unexpected thing. So you have to assess that, is there a significant risk of international spread there or not. or any significant risk of international travel or trade restrictions or not. So above these four, answering yes to any two of the criteria requires a member states to notify WHO. So, example, if we take the COVID, it is an unusual and unexpected thing, and it is a serious thing, and it is an international spread, and has a risk of international travel and trade restrictions. So, four are right. That means they have to notify to the WHO. Disease list. What are the disease list which is under public health emergency is SARS, smallpox, poliomyelitis, human influenza are always notifiable. Some public health emergencies declarations are 2009 swine flu pandemic. So you remember, right? Swine flu. Uh, it is also one pandemic in 2014, 2009. In 2014, polio declaration was there. In 2014, outbreak of Ebola in Western Africa was there. So here one disease, two diseases are came at a once. So in 2015 to 2016, Zika virus was there. 2018 to 20, Ebola was there, and ongoing was COVID-19 pandemic. Understood? In 2009, there was a swine flu. 2014, Ebola and polio. 2015 to 16, Zika virus. 2018 to 20, Ebola. And now 20 to 21 is COVID-19. The recommendations are temporary and requires reviews every 3 months. Implications. So, all countries should be prepared for containment, active surveillance, early detection, isolation, and case management. And all should do contact tracing also and prevention of spread of infection and to share full data with the WHO. Countries are legally required to share information with WHO and IHI, Indian Health Regulations. So, up to here, SARS completed. Now, COVID 19 pandemic. So, introduction. COVID 19 is an infectious disease caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. So, already it has the SARS CoV 2, but now again it came. So, that's why it is COVID 19. So, infected people will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recover without requiring special treatment. Older people with non-communicable diseases are at risk of developing severe illness. Next problem statement, like in Telangana, confirmed cases in India. These were the confirmed cases in global. So this report, this problem statement, we have to give to the WHO things, and how many members recovered and how many deaths were occurred and how many things. Compared to all the things, Telangana was less 1000, that is 1600. Next, what is suspected case? If you are suspecting a case of COVID-19, a COVID-19, for him there should be a acute respiratory illness symptoms, fever, at least one sign or a symptom of a respiratory disease like a cough, shortness of breath, anything. And a history of traveling is there or not, any residence in local location reporting community transmission of COVID-19 or not, any history of symptoms are there during the 14 days prior to symptoms onset, any travel history there beyond 14 days prior to symptoms onset. So like that you have to ask. And whether patient having been in contact with a confirmed or probable COVID-19 case in the last 14 days prior to symptom onset, you have to ask. And in the absence of any alternative diagnosis that fully explains the clinical presentation. Next, probable case. What is probable case? So we seen that suspected case. Now we will see the probable case. A suspect case from for whom testing for the COVID-19 virus is in conclusion, or a suspect case for whom testing could not be performed for any reason is the probable case, and confirmed cases with a laboratory confirmation of COVID-19 infection irrespective of the clinical signs and symptoms. As we have seen before, there will be no signs and symptoms, but the report will be positive. If the patient came with everything, sore throat, fever, discomfort, difficulty in breathing, everything will be there, but his report will be negative. So here confirmed cases, irrespective of any signs and symptoms, lab confirmation should be there. Next, for this also, agent is Reservoir of infection agents as COVID to reservoir of infection is bats and pigs. Environmental factors are overcrowding, seasonal variation. Host factors more than 60 years, hypertension, and comorbidity with comorbidities. Incubation period is 2 to 14 days after exposure to the virus. Next, for this also chain of infection will be there. So coronavirus infected person. So what is the point of entry? Eyes, nose or mouth aerosols. So less than 5 mm diameter, suspended in air, contact or a droplet more than 5 mm diameter, direct contact or less than 1 meter with the distance. So coughing, sneezing, singing, talking or breathing, any aerolizing procedures like that. Next, susceptible host is any person in direct contact with secretions and persons less than 1 meter distance. So reservoir is coronavirus infected person. Mode of transmission is point of entry like droplet infections, and susceptible host any person less than 1 meter distances. So, other than pulmonary symptoms in the COVID 19, what are the other symptoms? Like coming to the skin, dermatologically, petechia will be there, vesicles are there, livedo reticularis, erythematous rash, perineal like lesions are there. Neurological, brain headache, dizziness, encephalopathy, Guillain-Barré syndrome, myalgia, anosmia, stroke, everything. And thromboembolism also, the deep venous thrombosis, pulmonary embolism. So many cases died because of the pulmonary embolism only, catheter related thrombosis, etc. Coming to the cardiac issues, Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, myocardial injury, myocarditis, cardiac arrhythmias, cardiogenic shock, myocardial ischemia, acute or pulmonary. Coming to the endocrine problems, hyperglycemia, diabetic ketoacidosis, GIT symptoms, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, anorexia, and hepatic things are elevated ALT or AST, elevated bilirubin, and renal, acute kidney injury, proteinuria, and hematuria. And what are the warning signs of in COVID-19 is trouble breathing, persistent pain or a pressure in the chest, and confusion will be there due to that trouble breathing, inability to walk or stay awake, pale, gray or blue colored skin, lips or nail birds due to the breathing problems, due to the discomfort in the breathing. So depending upon the skin tone. After exposure to someone who has a COVID-19, what you have to do? So you have to call and seek the medical help, and then contact tracing procedures you have to do. Quarantine for 14 days, at least 1 meter distance from others, wear a medical mask to protect others, clean your hands frequently, separate room well ventilated, share a room, place beds at least 1 meters apart, monitor yourself for any symptoms for 14 days. Next, instructions for caregivers and instructions for the patient what you'll give. So who is taking care of the patients? They have to wear a triple layer medical mask. They should avoid touching own face, nose or mouth. Hand hygiene for 40 seconds. They should wash their hands for 40 seconds. Use of disposable paper towels to dry hands. Exposure to patient utensils and dishes, prescribed treatment to patient, self-reporting of caregiver and all contacts. So patient should all at all times use triple layer medical mask, disinfecting it with 1% sodium hypochlorite. Stay in the identified room, rest and drink lot of fluids, no sharing of personal items, clean surfaces, physician's instructions and medication advice. Laboratory diagnosis. So preferred sample throat and nasal swab in viral transport media and transported in a cold chain. Respiratory specimen collection methods are lower respiratory tract and from upper respiratory tract. Lower respiratory tract means bronchoalveolar lavage and tracheal aspiration will take sputum also. They will collect 2 to 3 ml into a sterile and a leak-proof screw cap, sputum collection cup or a sterile dry container. From upper respiratory system tract means they will take nasopharyngeal swab and oropharyngeal swab. Real time means RT-PCR test is recommended for the diagnosis. Prevention of COVID. How you'll prevent? non-pharmacological, like other than the treatment, what you'll do: washing hands, quarantine, isolation, social distance, mask, respiratory etiquette, disinfect frequent touch surface regularly, avoiding crowds, close contacts, poorly ventilated spaces, like that. And you have to use a hand wash like solutions. And screening tests. So screening tests are recommended for unvaccinated people to identify any asymptomatic people are there or not, suspected or a reported exposure to SARS-CoV or not. Screening helps to identify unknown cases so that measures can be taken to prevent further transmission. So if one person got positive, so you have to screen working place setting also. In colleges or schools means you have to test the students, faculty and staff. Testing before and after traveling also you have to do. Thank you.